Hey guys, we're going to start in about 3 minutes. Hello, hello. All right, I can't be the only one on camera, so you guys can show your screen. It'll be okay, I promise. You do it all day long anyway. Who's going to be the first one to show your screen? Show your camera. Hey, okay, we have a tie. Fran and Eric, thank you guys for not making me be the only one. Now, here's what's going to be funny. As people pile in, now they're just going to turn their cameras on because it's the thing to do. So you were trendsetter. You didn't even know it. So thank you. All right, I'm pulling up a couple of things on my screen and I know, Fran, I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, look, it's a piece of hair that decided to stick out. How about that?
I know, that's the problem with video, right?
You know what? It's so interesting. It was probably 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now. Somebody who's smart, like a Forbes or something like that, they did a study on what all of these video chats were doing to people's self-confidence, and specifically women. Because men were just like, well, I'm on video, whatever. And women were like, oh, can they see? I have lines. Oh, my double, my hair. That's, and the men are just like, I'm on camera. It's fine. And they were saying that women specifically were really having, they didn't say self-confidence issues, but issues like, I didn't know I looked like that on camera, and that it really impacted women more than men. So anyway, I think we're all relatively used to it. Although I will admit, sometimes I will hide the self view. Like I'll leave the camera on. You guys can see me, but I don't want to see me. Welcome, welcome. We're going to start in about a minute. I've got, oh, it just flipped to 2 o'clock, but or 2 Eastern. I'm going to wait one more minute. I really do my best to start on time, because if I start 5 minutes late for the people who are late, then they come tomorrow 10 minutes late, and then they come 15 minutes late. And then it also, I feel like it rewards the people who aren't on time and it detracts from the people who are. And that feels really unfair because I'm usually on time. So I try to reward the people who are actually here on time. Hey, Eric, you got your coffee. I've got my coffee. Life is good. All right, we've got a lot of people on that don't have their cameras on. So I'm going to see if I can ask. I can't. Oh, I can ask you to start your video. We still got a couple people dialing in. Awesome. I love it. Okay, so we've got a couple of people are saying, hey, I'll start my video later. No problem. My goal is to always, always, always start on time. So we are straight up at the top of the hour. I have 41 people registered for this. I've had a couple of people say they can't make Wednesday, or they can't make Monday, or they can't whatever. So I want to go through a couple of housekeeping items, and then the people that are coming in a couple of minutes late will just have to go back and watch the recording to get the housekeeping items. I'll introduce myself in just a second, but this is being recorded. I'm going to upload it to the pop-up Facebook group. That Facebook group is simply going to be to store the recordings and for you to have a place to post your homework, as well as any challenges and questions that you have going through the process. So I think most of us need another Facebook group, like we need a hole in our heads, but I needed a good way to just have a central gathering place that isn't Zoom, that's live all the time. So it is a pop-up Facebook group. It was in the same link that you got to this Zoom link. So if you have the Zoom link, you should also have the Facebook link. Definitely join that, because we are doing the first day's prize is a $25 Amazon gift card, and they actually just get better from there. So that is the only place that you can post your homework. If you are super security conscious and you're like, I don't do Facebook, Please private message me or email me. Actually, don't message me through Zoom because I'll lose it when I kill the Zoom. But email me privately and just say, I don't do Facebook, and we will figure something out because I want you to have access to the recordings. So I'm not going to take homework via email because logistically it's challenging, but I will somehow get you the recordings. I'll probably host them on my cloud and just share that with you. Okay. So Bob, you're asking me to multitask and post that Facebook link in the chat. So let me do that. I'm also going to mute my Facebook window because invariably someone will message me and I don't want that to distract. So it is Killer Marketing Plan Challenge. Give me about 10 seconds and I will post the link in that group because like I said, we have 41 people registered for this, but we only have 14 members in the group. So ask to join. I will let you in because I'll recognize the 41 people's names. And the reason you want to join is that I'm doing prizes. So today's prize is a $25 Amazon gift card, and they only get better from there. So there we have it. Okay, so things are going to be recorded. Turn on your cameras, please. That way people have something to look at more than just me. And there's actually some reasons for that as well. And we are going to jump in and get started. I do my best to get started on time. Today, we are going to be talking all about knowing your numbers. So can you raise your hand if you don't have a link to the workbook or you don't have the workbook printed? Okay, so a handful of you do not have the workbook link or printed. Okay, so again, I'm going to, it's saved on my Google Docs. So assuming that Google Docs is up and working. Okay, Doug, you're printing yours right now. I love it. Bob, you said you don't have it right now. Let me know if you have a link. Does everybody at least have a link to the workbook? Raise your hand if you don't have the link. Okay, Bob does not have the link. Okay, so I want to try to get that because you're going to want to print that. Hopefully you all printed it single-sided because there's a lot of worksheets. There's a lot of place to take notes. But if you're like me, there's never enough room. So I always end up using the blank backs to take notes. So Bob, give me a second. I've got it. I need to pull it and talk at the same time. So bear with me. All right, come on.
Jerry posted it.
I posted the link to the Facebook page. Oh, Jerry, you rock. Thank you. I love you. You're fantastic. All right. So we're going to get started. I want to start by just jumping right in and talking about your numbers. But I want you to do me a favor first. I want everybody to take a screenshot and I want you to post it out in your favorite social media group, out to your Facebook page, out to LinkedIn, wherever you hang out the most. Yeah, Eric, I agree. Eric's like, it's good to put faces with some of the names that we know. So I want everybody to take a screenshot of all of the faces that are on the screen and post it out to your favorite social media and tag me if I'm in that group and just say something about I'm getting ready to crush my 2021 marketing plans. Or if you really want to dig into your competitors, I wish you were here. Not really, because I'm getting ready to crush my 2021 marketing plans. So tag that out there. What that does is it sets you up for success because you are telling your brain, I'm getting ready to plan, I'm getting ready to strategize, I'm getting ready to crush this. I'm going to walk out with a successful plan in 5 days. And then your brain's like, oh, that's what we're doing. And you're actually telling your brain what to do. So everybody stare at the camera for a second. Look your best. Fran and I were chatting early on about how all of these Zoom conferences have been particularly hard on women. There have actually been studies that say, wait, do I really look like that? Like you can see my wrinkles and my eyebrows and whatever. So it is what it is. We all look like we look on camera and it is what it is. So post that out to social. But we are going to jump in and hopefully you have either an electronic copy or ideally a paper copy of the Killer Marketing Plan Workbook. So let me introduce myself because I know most of you, but I don't know all of you. I'm Jennifer Bleam. I am the owner of MSP Sales Revolution, and everything that I do is around sales and marketing. I specifically started in the cybersecurity world. I started this company about a year and a half ago, and I did one-on-one consulting with taking cybersecurity to market. It was phenomenally successful. My goal was to help one new client every week. I fell just a tiny bit short of that. I helped 45 clients in my first year in business. A lot of fun. I think that's great given that my first year in business overlapped a fair amount of COVID and a lot of uncertainty that many of us have been through. What makes me qualified to talk about that is that I have literally coached over 1,000 IT companies when it comes to sales and marketing best practices. I've spoken in Australia and Ireland specific to selling cybersecurity. I teach MSPs all day long about how to sell, how to market cybersecurity. And this workshop came about because I had quite a few people reaching out to me on social, LinkedIn, Facebook, email, and saying, what I'm doing isn't working, or I'm really not doing anything, or what I'm doing is kind of a hodgepodge, and I need help. I need help to kind of consolidate all of the confusion around the marketing space. And so there's a huge need for it. You are not alone. It is a lot. It can be very overwhelming. And the goal is to spend an hour every day this week as a group. And then the homework assignments will be anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour every day. So they are not burdensome. But what that means is at the end of 5 days, you will have spent around 8 to 10 hours on marketing in a single week. And I want you to see how much you grow in that amount of time and how much we make order come out of chaos and how much more in control you feel by simply taking the time and having the discipline to do it. And so that's why about half of you actually paid to come to this. Half of you got this for free as part of the membership that you have with me. But the other half of you paid very nominally because I know if you pay, then you will actually show up and do the work. What you pay for, you value. What is free, none of us value it. So I didn't want to just make this a lead magnet and you download it and then it sits on your server and you do nothing with it. So that's who I am. I want to jump in and I want to talk about a SWOT analysis. Raise your hand if you have in the last year done a SWOT analysis on your company. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay, so a handful. Okay, good. So this will be super, super valuable. So pull out either a pen or a pencil. Be prepared to write really small. And unfortunately, I have mine as electronic. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. You are looking for page 3 of your workbook. And so it's this SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Don't worry about the action items at the bottom yet. We are simply going to fill out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you are like me, you are going to need a back of a blank piece of paper, and you might even need a back of a second piece of paper. But I want to walk you through this. And if you are normal, you are going to walk out with a solid number of strengths, a whole lot of weaknesses, threats that feel like you can't control them, which is usually the case, and opportunities. And what then we're going to spend some time matching up the opportunities with your weaknesses. How do I take advantage of opportunities without running into a weakness? How do I take advantage of opportunities? So I don't want to get too far down the weeds. I want to fill out yours is page 5. Hold on a second. You're right. Mine is page 5 too. It's just too small. Okay, so back to the vanity thing. I do have my peepers here that I may have to put on because the page numbers are a little small for my eyes today. So, okay, so and feel free to either unmute if you're super bold or type into the chat for everybody to see. But let's talk about strengths. So the strengths are things that your company does really well. So I've talked to IT companies that have said, we really provide white glove, hands-on service. Our clients love us. We don't speak geek. You know, we're there on site very frequently. And so those companies have had a bit of a challenge because they've had to pivot. It's very difficult to provide hands-on white glove service if your city is locked down. But what is it? I want you to start to write down and maybe share in the chat. What do you do particularly well? What are you known for in the community? And this can be outside of the IT world. It can be, I'm really good at building communities. I'm really good at making connections. I'm a giver. I love to help people. And so it's not just I'm good at closing managed services, although that could be legitimate. It could be, you know what, I'm a really good salesperson. If I could just generate more leads, my strength is sales. And so I want you to pick up a pen and I want you to start to write down some strengths. So what do you do well? What's making a difference in your company? What's making a difference in your culture? What's making a difference in your community? What marketing do you have in place that is either working well, or you feel like if you just poured a little bit of gasoline on that, whether that is time, energy, focus, money, a staff resource, that maybe it's going adequately, but if you just poured a little bit of something on it, holy smoke, it could become something huge. What about some qualities that make you a good CEO, a good visionary, a good director of marketing, a good VP of growth? All right, Eric, you just shared. He's a great connector, good networker, people skills, good listener. Ooh, I like the focus on client outcome. That is great on the sales side, because that's really what you want to sell, is that outcome. Community service, live videos, Facebook group. Yeah, Jerry, if you don't know Jerry, she is phenomenal at building a community. She is sitting on gold, and she's going to be tapping it this year to come. So what about proprietary recipes or your secret sauce? So that could be on the ops side. It could be on the sales side. It could be a piece of the marketing puzzle that you just feel like it is working really well. And when all else around you is mass chaos, the other 800 things that you do all day long, maybe they're horribly broken, but there is this one thing or several things that you just do really, really well. Internal resources. You may have a rock star salesperson or a rock star technician or a rock star service manager, service delivery person, but that is a strength. And then Jerry just mentioned her network. That's a big thing that we talk about inside of the Get It membership. We talk about this concept of the network of, I've got my list, my network of 90 is up on my bulletin board. I look at it almost every day. And so your human network is very often a strength that we don't think about leveraging, and it's there to leverage. Okay. Joanna, huge on client satisfaction numbers, average time to close tickets, 90% of your services are done in-house. Okay, so okay, I was thinking you didn't have to go on site, but that's not what you're saying. You're saying you deliver, you're not reselling someone else's services, they're your own. I like a lot of personality. So kudos, because it's the MSP space is really crowded. The sales training space is really crowded. But what your company has that none of your competitors have is you. And what you have that none of your competitors have, your team, your personality, your culture. And so I love that. And if you can let that come out in your videos, if you're doing lives, if it can come out in your website, if your website is stale and it needs an update, maybe you bring someone in and say, you know, we really have a fun culture, and we have, yeah, we work hard, but we're really fun and we're a little quirky. And so that personality is huge. Eric is really good at asking for reviews. Hopefully you're also good at getting them. I'm picking on you slightly because you picked on me earlier for the wrong page number. So we're even now. So good. I love it. Okay, so let's shift to weaknesses. Again, I think the natural tendency of business owners is to see the weaknesses. We see the problems, we see what needs to be fixed. And that's part of where our overwhelm comes from. So I don't want to park here for too long, but it's important to know what your weaknesses are, especially when it comes to the marketing systems and processes that are in place. So let's start talking about weaknesses. What's not working well? What are some, maybe some tools that your company lacks, or some people that your company lacks? It could be on the ops side, it could be on the sales and marketing side. um, what are some processes? I catch myself frequently saying, oh, we really need to document this process. Well, I can say it all day long. Okay, so Bob, it sounds like you've got processes written but not necessarily followed consistently. And I'm seeing a couple people agreeing with that. And I I know quite a few of you have a smaller team. Okay, so Igor is saying execution, and sometimes that has to do with process, but sometimes it has to do with simply time. Like there's just not enough time to go around. Igor, paralysis by analysis. I hope you listened to or plan to listen to the private training that I just posted this morning, because it talked about paralysis by analysis. What about employee weaknesses? Has anybody ever had, let's assume they don't have it today, but has anybody ever had an employee that you know should not be at your company, and you let them stay longer than, yeah, me? No, Eric's saying never me. Yeah, right. And so why is that, right? And I don't want to get this into, we're not going to turn this into a employee management, hiring, firing type of thing, but we all can say, what is it? Hire slow, fire fast, right? But we tend to flip that. We do the hire slow because what if I hire the wrong person? What if I can't keep them busy? What if they're the wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then we get this dead weight resource, human resource, that there is an easy solution to, and then we don't let them go. It's a weakness. I have a vendor that I do some work for who has a human resource weakness, and they know that if they let that person go, they will lose an unemployment case. They will have to stroke a check for $15,000 because it's an out of state employee, and that's how that state works. And it's 15 grand. And I'm like, listen, I know it's not my money. I'm not the one stroking a check, but how much is that person costing you by staying in your company, not doing the job they were hired for? And how much could the new person stepping in, once they're up to speed, once they're trained, all of which takes time and money and effort and energy, but how much could the right person make you? And I get it. I'm not the one stroking the checks. It's really easy for me to say that, but it is a very common thing. So write it down. If you have a human resource weakness, use initials, use that nickname that you call that person, just in case they see it sitting on your desk, like whatever you need to do. What is hindering your sales process? Where are there marketing systems that are broken? Where are there systems that your, or services that your competitors, they just deliver better than you? They have some kind of secret sauce in their strength column. You haven't been able to figure it out. Or maybe you have set your pricing where it should be, highly profitably, but you don't know how to sell it yet. That's a weakness. Now, maybe it's fixable, but it is a weakness. Okay, so we're going to stop there. We're going to shift to opportunities. Man, opportunities are fun. If you are familiar with the visionary concept, which I think is I think it's an entrepreneurial operating system concept with traction. If you are a visionary, you are a very typical owner CEO, in that you have 1,017 ideas before noon on Monday. And those are all opportunities. And that can also be a weakness, right? Because what in the world do we focus on? Because there's 8,000 opportunities, all of which seem like the right idea today. So what are some opportunities? So again, put them in the chat, or put them on your paper, or both. Bob, I'm not sure I'm clear on your question, so clarify that for me if you will. So opportunities, cybersecurity, huge opportunity. Work from home is going to be continue to be a huge opportunity in 2021. So obviously we've got lockdowns now. California is really locked down. Sweden just locked down. Virginia is sort of locking down. Maryland's close. So everybody's at a little bit of a different place, but we all suspect that a lockdown is coming. We all suspect that that means our clients and our prospects are going to be working from home more. So what does it look like to secure them? What does it look like to spin up that architecture? Are there opportunities to move them to the cloud? Are there opportunities to make sure that they can get to all of their data on a SharePoint or a OneDrive type of account? And then if there's security that needs to be layered on top of there. So everything around the work from home opportunity, marketing, that again, you can put this concept of marketing that's working okay, but it could just explode into something beautiful. I know, a few of you have some things you've been trialing. I talked to a private client 2 weeks ago. They've been kind of dabbling in the video marketing thing. And I said, why dabble? Like, why not just jump in all in? So for that person, video marketing that I'm dabbling in is an opportunity. Like, again, what would happen if I threw some fuel on it? I threw in here's an opportunity, open real estate. May not be there today, but I think it'll be there in 2021. What all indications are that the vast majority of companies are going to go to either a work from home model or a hybrid, where some of their employees, maybe the executive team, comes in once or twice a week. Everybody else works from home. I'm also seeing hints of the co-working, co-sharing, where like the WeWork and stuff like that. So what I suspect is going to happen is some of these companies are their lease is going to run out and they're not going to renew, or they're going to renege on their lease. They're going to work from home, and either some of these real estate that are then vacant will convert to WeWorks and that type of a co-working space, or they could provide for a phenomenal opportunity for you to gobble up some real estate and perhaps start a secondary business where you become a landlord, or you simply buy the real estate for your own company. So file that away. I don't think that's today. I think it's probably going to be more Q2, Q3, but I think it's coming. So it's an opportunity. Any kind of press coverage, any ways to get into the marketplace, opportunities to present or to speak at other organizations, to talk about work from home for your chamber, for your BNI, for your network of 90, for all of these other people that you listed as network and relational capital. Those are opportunities, okay? And then threats. COVID's a threat. We can't control it, but it's a threat. Potentially running out of funding could be a threat due to COVID's secondary trickle down response. Maybe your company is fine and your company is stable financially, but if you lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, then all of a sudden now your business is hurting. Emerging competitors, I am starting to see more and more. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of you nod, so that's good. Competitors that are springing up, and either they have a standalone cybersecurity presence, or they're a large company that they're starting to move into your geography, or it could be the ISPs that are saying, hey, we can do IT support. You're at home anyway behind our firewall. We'll just push out our Kaspersky and you're good to go. And it's only $3 a month. And so that's a threat. The SMB market, if COVID does have a second wave, if there are lockdowns, I think all or most of you are here in the States. But yeah, so Fran, you're saying the standalone cybersecurity consultants moving in on clients, absolutely, very real threat. If COVID has a second wave, we're going to see small business owners closing. The ones that are 60, 65, 70 years old, they're done. They don't have the desire to try to figure out how to pivot, how to grow. They're just like, we're done. And so the SMB market is going to start to shrink, which means you are going to have to work harder than ever on your marketing, which is why having a marketing plan is so important. Okay, so that is a SWOT analysis. Part 1 of your homework is to finish as much as you can to finish that SWOT analysis. And what's going to happen is you're going to think you're done. and then you're going to walk into the kitchen or, you know, across the hall, or you're going to be driving and you're going to think of something else. So it is an ongoing, yeah, Eric, ask that inside of our group. You've seen MSPs give pricing just over cost. I mean, it's a strategy. I don't love it. I think it's awful. But when you're aware of that, you've got to plan for that in your sales process. So, that's it. That's an objection. That's objection handling. So part one of your homework is to finish the SWOT analysis. Have the discipline to turn the page and not think about it now. But do that over the course of this afternoon and into tomorrow. You've got until about an hour before tomorrow's session to get your homework posted. Part two of the homework is to fill in some action items. So at the bottom of the SWOT analysis, you've got space for five action items. I would try to limit yourself to 5. You can do 10, but you're not going to be able to achieve them all. But it's okay if you're in brainstorm mode to record 10. But what you want to do is essentially, you want to match up your strengths and your weaknesses and say, how do I overcome some weaknesses because of my strengths? So I'm going to randomly look. I should have asked you guys to put strength or weakness at the beginning, but so Kevin, I'm just picking your weakness. I'm diverting from an SOP, but anybody say, hey, but I'm really good at cloud migrations. Okay, so maybe you start with we're really good at cloud migration. So in January, we are going to redo our standard operating procedure with regard to cloud migrations so that we can free up resources, make sure we deploy it the same way every single time. So you're going to match up your strengths to try to leverage those opportunities. You're going to use your strengths to try to overcome the weaknesses. You're going to say, okay, I've got this opportunity that if I can figure out how to pour gasoline on that fire, if I future cast, and if I say in 6 or 8 months, I've leveraged and I've capitalized on this opportunity, what are the new strengths that I might get as a result of figuring out that opportunity? So you're going to play kind of mix and match across these 4 quadrants and figure out some potential, you're not committing to these yet, but some potential action items for 2021. Okay, does that make sense? I see a couple of heads nodding. I'm looking for 1 or 2 more head nods. Okay, all right, good, awesome. Okay, so I want to talk about a concept that one of my mentors talks about, and they talk about at bats versus runs. Okay, so marketing and sales are technically 2 different things. Now, it's really normal when I'm talking to IT pros that they will say, you know, I've got a big marketing problem. And then we dig in and we actually find out that they have leads, so they can kind of check that marketing box. But what they have is a sales problem because they can't close the leads. Or they come to me and they're like, I have a sales problem. And I'm like, okay, tell me about it. Well, I'm doing all this marketing and I'm not generating any leads. Well, that's not a sales problem. That's a marketing problem. Now, they're very much in sync. They're 2 sides of the same coin. They're the yin and the yang. They're the dark chocolate and milk chocolate. So you need them both, but they are their own disciplines, and they require you to think about them in a little bit of a different way. And so I want you to be super clear whether you are trying to fix an at-bat problem, which is how many times do I even get a chance to make a sale? Because it's marketing's job to create that lead. It is marketing's job to help you get the at-bat. So is it a marketing problem, or am I really bad at hitting that pitch and running around the bases and making a home run? That's a sales problem. And if you try to solve a sales problem with a marketing solution, you are going to waste money. Because I actually have a handful of marketing companies that are talking to me saying, can we please refer business to you? Because we will hand an MSP 10 leads that are all in the right target market. They have 10 to 100 computers. They're meeting with a decision maker. They have pain. They're in the right geography. So we hand them 10 of these and they can't close a single one. And the IT pro says to the marketing company, I need more leads. And the marketing company's like, you don't need more leads. You need to learn how to close it. So in that case, the MSP had 10 opportunities to hit a run and they closed 0 of them. Now, could that happen? Absolutely. There's always, there's an incumbent, there's a fluke. They didn't like you. They hate Zoom, whatever. I know friends like, I'll take 10 leads. I'll prove I'm worth it. Like I am worthy, right? I know everybody's like, give them to me, man. Fire that deadbeat who can't close them. I'll take them. I get it. Totally get it. So just make sure you're very clear. What is the problem you're trying to fix? This will also help tremendously when you're evaluating marketing solutions, because it's your job as the buyer to know what is the problem I'm trying to solve and being crystal clear on what that problem is that I'm trying to solve, so that you can cut through all of the fluff and all of the sales, blah, 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 and all of the, well, it sounds really good, but does it help me solve for the problem I'm trying to solve for? That would have, remembering that discipline would have saved me $15,000 my first year in business. I had a very expensive mistake where I invested 10 grand plus 5 grand in travel and food and all that good stuff. And I walked in the room and I immediately knew I am in the wrong place. Someone just said, what's a lead again? What's a landing page? And I'm like, oh, wow, I just made a horrible mistake. And it was my fault because I didn't define what is the problem I'm trying to solve. And can this vendor really solve it? And the answer was no, but because I didn't define what I was trying to accomplish, I spent 15 grand that I didn't have to. Complete waste. Tried to get my money back, didn't. Expensive lesson learned. That's part of business, unfortunately. So are we working on at bats or are we working on runs? Now, today, for the rest of this week, we are working on at bats. We are working to get Fran to the point where she's got those 10 leads so she can prove to people that she can close them. So that's really what we're focused on. But I want you to remember that, because as we start to get into marketing tactics and we start to get into how do we measure effectiveness, the goal of marketing, the long-term goal of marketing is to create that lead. The shorter term goal of marketing is to create an awareness that you actually exist and that you have a problem that you can solve for someone. So marketing is to wake up the prospect to a need they have and to wake them up that, hey, maybe Fran can help me with that. Hey, maybe I should call Eric. You know what? I forgot Jerry did that and she just reminded me through her marketing. So let me call her. And so those are all opportunities that help you get more at bats. If you can't hit the bat, if you can't hit the ball, that's a run issue. That's a sales issue. That's a separate issue. The next thing I want to talk about is visibility. And so I want to share with you what it used to take to be visible. And then I want to talk about what it will take today to be visible. Because the marketplace has become noisier. The number of advertisements that we see in a single day has dramatically increased. And as a result, that means it's harder to get someone's attention. So gone are the days where you could drop a direct mail piece and your phone would ring or your fax machine would ring and you would get a 3% return on investment or a 3% return. So if you drop 1,000 pieces, you've got 30 leads. Those days do not exist anymore. And I'm talking even pre-COVID. I'm hearing so many stories about how direct mail isn't working today. And that doesn't surprise me because people aren't in their offices to get their mail. So I know I've talked to a lot of small business owners in my area, and they run into the office once every week or two. They look for the bills. They know they're looking for, 7 bills, 12 bills, whatever. They have that number. Everything else goes in the trash. They wipe everything down, wipe down the doorknobs with the wipes, and they get out because maybe an employee might be coming in, and that's it. I mean, direct mail right now is very challenging. But even a year ago, direct mail was not as effective then as it was even 5 or 6 years earlier. So when I was doing marketing for my husband's IT company, we consistently did newsletters every month. we did that around the first of the month. We did physical postcards that we mailed. And the newsletter was also physical. So physical newsletter on the first of the month, postcard on the 15th of the month. We had a branded vehicle. We might have had more than one branded vehicle. At one time we had three, but I think at the time of this story that I'm telling you, I think we had one or two, and we would always drive it. If we were going to the grocery store, we were in the branded vehicle. If we're driving to Dunkin' Donuts, we're in the branded vehicle. It's a business expense because you're driving around your logo. So newsletter, postcard, branded vehicle, and we did, I think that whole year, we did 2 seminars for the chamber. That was our marketing spend. That was our marketing plan. We kind of had a Facebook presence, and we kind of did 1 or 2 direct mail pieces, but the only things we really did consistently were those 4. And I distinctly remember she became our CPA for a while, but she called me. She's like, I see you guys at the chamber, but I see you all over the place. And I'm like, you do? She's like, yeah, I get your newsletter, I get your postcard, I see you on TV. We weren't doing TV. I heard your ad on the radio. We weren't doing radio. Like, we were doing newsletters, postcards, the car, and a couple of random seminars. But she believed she saw us everywhere. That's not today. Unfortunately, today, the number of ads we all see has increased. The noise has increased. The chaos of COVID and the chaos of, are we going to lock down? Are we going to work from home? What am I doing for cybersecurity? The industry has grown more complex, our industry, but your prospects industries have as well. How are they going to secure their home? How are they able to work from home? Can they access their line of business applications from outside of their office? If they have any kind of NIST frameworks or trying to think, I was talking to a friend of mine at church, and he's like, yeah, I have to go into the office every couple of weeks because there are some projects I can't take with me. They're like black site kind of projects. I can't take them out because they're protected under like a I don't know, like a whatever it's called, a certain level of security. And so that is the chaos. And so it's not enough anymore to simply be visible with a handful of strategies. And that's part of why it's part of why marketing is so complex, because we do want to be visible and we do want to be in front of the prospect when the prospect is ready to make a decision, and when they're in enough pain that they'll say, okay, now it's time for me to call Jennifer. Now I'm going to reach out to Huey. Oh, I'm so glad I'm on Igor's list because now I have a need for his solution. So it's a balance between not killing ourselves, because I was watching in the chat, a couple of you were like, I have trouble following my SOPs because I'm a team of 1. Or I'm I'm wearing 73 hats. Like it's me, myself, and we're all just a little bit insane. And I get it, because right now I'm a team of 1. I'm about to hire my first employee probably in the next week. And so I understand. So my goal over the next week, and I can't do it all today, but my goal over the next week is to give you clarity on where should you focus your time and attention, as well as what is reasonable based on your team. Because if you're a team of 1, but you are also doing service delivery, and you're also doing sales, and you're also doing operations, and you're also doing your accounting, then that's an extra layer. But if you have a team, it's not enough to just go, oh, I have a team, I'm just going to give them this problem, go here, solve it. Your job is to get 8,000 people to like our Facebook page by next week. That's not really going to work either, because you need to get people to like your page, but they need to be quality, which maybe we will talk about if we have enough time. And then you need an overarching content strategy that, okay, not only do I need people to like my page, but I need them engaged, and I need them commenting, and maybe they could even post on occasion as well. And so there's more than just saying, hey, Sally, marketing admin, your job is to get to the point where we're adding new members to our page, or we're adding new members to our drip sequence. There needs to be a holistic view of how does this create a marketing system. So you're going to see me talk, you'll hear me talk about marketing system a little bit. I want you to take a look at page 11. Page 11 is a sample, very simple marketing system. And I created this about 3 months ago because I have this unique ability that when I hear the same type of stories 5 different ways from 5 different MSPs, I'm like, we have a common problem. Let me create a structure around how to explain this. And here was the problem. I have a nurture sequence that either I bought from someone or I downloaded from someone or I swiped from my swipe file or I wrote on my own. So I have this nurture sequence. And then, oh yeah, I did a webinar, and oh yeah, I did Google AdWords, and oh well, I get this referral every once in a while. And yeah, I've got free reports on my webpage, but they're all this disparate. It's what one of my mentors calls random acts of marketing. It's just all these little breadcrumbs, and that is part of where the chaos comes from, because very, very quickly you can try to have a Facebook presence and a Facebook group and a LinkedIn presence and a podcast and a Facebook Live every day. And oh, someone said it'd be a good idea if I repurposed that Facebook Live. So now I need to take the Facebook Live and I need to cross post it to LinkedIn and cross post it to Instagram and cut out snippets of it and cross post those to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I need to transcribe those and turn them into audio transcripts, and or maybe they'll just be audios and I'll post that as a podcast. So you take one thing, I'm going to go live on Facebook every day, and you make it into this massive project that doesn't touch any of the other areas of marketing. Instead, what I want you to start to build is a marketing system. And I just want to show you this system. I'm not saying it's the perfect one for every IT company, but I'm telling you it works for almost every company. Now, could you add spokes to this? Absolutely. Could you add extra gears? Of course. But these are all gears in a machine. This is a very, very basic, I'm not a graphic designer. But the main spoke is your nurture sequence. So I firmly believe that you should have a list of companies in your area that you could do business with and that you want to do business with. Typically, that's based on size and geography. Is anybody niching to a specific, like I only work with medical? Okay, good. So everyone is doing general small business. Okay. So ideally, you will be collecting names or curating names, and we can talk about how to build that list, but that list becomes the core of everything that you do. And so ideally, you are dripping on that list. I call it ethical Chinese water torture, because you are dripping on them every single week. You are showing up in their inbox every single week. And that gear, none of these gears, but that gear is not set it and forget it. There should be metrics associated with that nurture sequence. I have seen one of the nurture sequences that is very commonly used, and it doesn't get very good read rates. It almost never gets any kind of a response. The only links that are clicked inside of it are the unsubscribe links. And very rarely are there call to actions. There's no call to action. There's no CTA. That's great information. What do you want me to do now? Now, I'm not saying I want you to have a call to action in every email, but the nurture sequence, if it is going to be a pivotal part of your strategy, which I believe it should be, then you should be measuring it similarly to how you measure your employees. And if your employees' job was to close tickets with a high level of satisfaction, and on Monday they worked 2 tickets and everybody gave them a thumbs down, and on Tuesday they didn't complete any tickets, and on Wednesday they completed 3, but it took them 7.5 hours and 2 of them had to be reopened. And at the end of the week, you have this key member of your team that has worked a grand total of 12 tickets, 6 of which people were grumpy about and you had to rework for them, and the time and materials weren't right, et cetera, et cetera. Would you be okay with that? You wouldn't be. We'd be going back to what we talked about at the beginning. Do we have the wrong person in the seat on the bus? And so the nurture campaign, it is so easy to just look at that as a set it and forget it. It's not. If the nurture sequence is not serving you, then you have to redo it. And so we can talk benchmarks if you want to know, like, what are good open rates, what are good conversion rates. Post that inside of the group. I've got some resources I can pull out. But my point is, if the nurture sequence is going to be a pivotal part of your marketing plan, then perhaps it should be someone's job, which might be you if you're the only one in the marketing role, to always be adding new people to that nurture list. Okay, Eric, I see you. All right, well, I'll pull you some good email usage stats, or email open stats. Because it's not, I can't say to you, hey, if you add 1,000 people to your nurture list today, in 3 months, you'll get 12 leads every single month. It's not like that. But you at least want people to be reading it, and you want to be getting some kind of a response. One of my clients had 1,000 people in their nurture sequence. They were about 10 months through the nurture sequence. So they basically added their whole list to, step one, and they were 10 months into the process. And they had not gotten a single lead. The only clicks were unsubscribes. People weren't opening it. People weren't reading it. And I'm like, okay, then let's stop, because at some point you should have said, and I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback. I'm just trying to say, for next time you add 1,000 people in and your emails aren't opening and aren't converting, then were the subject lines poor? What's the body copy? What's the call to action? That's how we found out, oh, there is no call to action. Like, oh, no, there's some best practices. You want 1 out of every 3 or 1 out of every 4 emails to have some kind of a call to action. It could be, click this to read more. Click this to watch my live video where I talked about this in more detail. Click here to join the conversation on LinkedIn. Click here. Like, it doesn't have to be click here to schedule a security audit, but what you're doing is you're training your list to click. And so at least 1 out of every 4 emails should have a call to action. Theirs was 0. They had a 52-week, essentially a 12-month nurture sequence with no call to actions. And Jerry, it was a mixture. They were all leads that they had generated over the years, but they had not nurtured them. So they were in various states of hot and cold. So, and then what you want to make sure is that if you say, one of my big things I want to focus on for 2021 is webinars or events, webinars, seminars, if that's going to be one of your big focus areas, which I love webinars and seminars for MSPs, they're fantastic. But if that's going to be a focus, make sure that in your quest to get the webinar out the door and get butts and seats and to try to figure out your deck and to figure out what am I going to pitch and to figure out at the very end, what was my close rate and all of that, very good, very necessary to measure that particular cog in the wheel, but make sure all those people then get added to your nurture sequence. Don't forget, because it's too easy, especially with a lot of the automation tools. We fuss with it. We get the automation reasonably set up correctly. And then we're cheering, as we rightfully should, when we have a webinar, but we get to the end of the webinar, we're like, oh, that's done. But meanwhile, we just generated 10 or 15 new names that should go into the top of our nurture sequence. And so by doing webinars, we're building our nurture sequence. By doing social media, we're building our list, which the list then goes into the nurture sequence. By getting referrals, maybe they don't all convert, but they go into a nurture sequence. By having our lead magnets, our data sheets and our checklists and our white papers, and maybe you turn your webinar into a lead magnet, but all of that is curating into your nurture sequence. Or maybe inside of your nurture sequence, you reference your webinar. So if you can see in your mind, we are basically creating our own web. We are creating our own World Wide Web, where when somebody enters into Huey's ecosystem, they just start to see Huey everywhere, because they get your nurture sequence and they get invited to a webinar and they see you on social and they're connected to you. Not only have they liked your company page, but they're connected to you on LinkedIn. And, oh, maybe I'll portals, everything in a single dashboard. We'll talk about the Holy Grail where everything is connected to everything else. It doesn't exist. I wish it did, but it does not exist. So everything existing in a single dashboard is, I wish that was true. Would you drop deals you didn't close into nurture? I would. I would drop deals that you didn't close into a nurture. The other option is you can take your standard nurture, let's call it a 52-week drip sequence, and you can take a deal that didn't close. You might even be able to jar a deal loose that that just went dark on you by saying, hey, I never want to be a pain. Here's what I'm going to do. I just added you to my list. Every week I'm going to show up in your inbox. I'm going to add additional value. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to help. And then you just drop them in the top. The other option is you could essentially do a copy paste where you clone your nurture sequence and you change every one of the call to actions that's on email number 4, email 8, email 12. Instead of click here to follow me on LinkedIn, you can say, you know, if you're ready to revisit that, and then you create a custom field where it's the thing they were talking to you about, cloud security. If you want to revisit cloud security, we are always here to help. Just let me know. And so you can do a very easy copy paste. And so it's technically it's the same nurture. It's like nurture B. And the goal of that is to get them to re-engage. It's more of a re-engagement campaign. Yeah, great idea. All right, I need to find my glasses that I put down so I can look at the clock because I think we're almost out of time. We are. Okay, so let me, oh, you know what? That's, holy cow, I really need to get my eyes checked. I thought it was 58 and it's 53. So we have 5 minutes. Okay, good. So visibility, I'm wanting you to start to think towards, you don't need to create it today, but I want you to try to think towards creating a system like what you've got on page 11. It doesn't have to look like my system. Every system is going to be a little bit unique, but I want you to get away from these random acts of marketing where you start to pull them in to a cohesive strategy. Okay. Bob just said, this is where I get overwhelmed. There's a lot of different strategies. How do I put them into place? So I may rearrange. We were going to talk about the different tactics on Wednesday, Bob. I'm gonna consider switching things around and going straight to tactics Wednesday, and I'll just flip my Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me think that through, but we'll probably do that. The other thing I want you to start to think about, because inside of the weaknesses, do you have a CRM or marketing automation tool, or at the very least, something like a constant contact? How are you going to stay in touch with these people? Because creating a lead and creating a relationship with that lead can't be done effectively using Outlook or using ConnectWise. It just simply cannot happen. And so that may need to go on a weakness where I don't really have a CRM. Or it could be I have something like an ActiveCampaign or a HubSpot or an Infusionsoft, but I don't know it well and I don't have the time to learn it. Maybe I need to find, maybe there's an opportunity to find a resource that can help me with that. So I just found a resource that for $150 a month, they will create unlimited for an hour a day. I mean, it's not truly unlimited, but it's an hour a day of all of my funnels and automations, and they'll sync my ActiveCampaign to my Stripe, to my ClickFunnels, to my Zapier, and they have all these, and I'm just like, here's what I want to make happen, and I just type it all, or I do a quick video via Loom, and I send it to them, and it's very rarely perfect on the first try, and I have to get them to fix things, but they did the whole funnel for this thing, and it took me maybe 30 minutes. So they set up the, it's probably closer to an hour because we had to go back and forth on some edits, but they set up the landing pages. Some of you had coupon codes, get them added to the automation sequence. I wrote the emails because I don't trust anyone to do that yet, but it's phenomenal money. So maybe it's a weakness that you have a tool, but you're not properly leveraging it. Maybe you need to have a tool and you don't have that tool yet. So think about that, because as we start to talk about the specific tactics, and I say, okay, I want you to do a webinar, or maybe you say, oh, I've always wanted to do a webinar, and you run into these stumbling blocks, because how are you going to do a webinar if you don't know who you're going to do the webinar to? If you don't have a list, if you don't have relationship capital who can invite their list to your webinar, if you don't have a marketing automation tool, if you don't have a way to host a webinar, right? Like that one's easy. Okay, I'm going to pick Zoom, done, right? So knowing what the problems are helps you to figure out, okay, I want to do this tactic, and Bob, maybe this will help you. I want to do this tactic, but listing what are the stumbling blocks to me actually selecting that as a tactic is super helpful, because writing them down, you're like, oh, I need a provider. Well, everybody I know uses either StreamYard, Zoom, or GoToWebinar. Everyone says they're all good. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You pick one. You're not married to it. So, anyway, so that is the system. So I don't need you to create the system today. I don't need you to start to think about tactics and strategies. I don't want to make this overwhelming. I've got a framework that I call the marketing magic quadrant that we're going to go through, because it removes much of the overwhelm. And I think once you see it, it is simple, but I've never seen anyone break it down this way. And so we'll either do that Tuesday or Wednesday, Bob. It depends. I need to look at, need to try to figure out what that's going to do if I flip the 2 days. Okay, so I've got a bunch of, yes, Bob, Confusionsoft, Gloria, HubSpot is a good one. Lots of strategies, not within my skill set. It's easy to tackle one thing at a time, but talking about getting them all synced, yep, that's what sends you into paralysis, and it is complicated. Yes, Paul, I said it's actually 169 per month, and they do all of my connections and stuff. Sharp Spring is another good one. I don't know it as well, but I do hear about that a fair amount. Eric, discuss tactics, etc. Do that inside either of the groups, either the membership group or on the Facebook page, because there is great power in collaborating and learning from one another. So let's, if possible, let's keep that inside of the group. All right, we are at the top of the hour. Your homework, if you want a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card that you get to spend on anything you want to, you're going to take a picture of your SWOT analysis with a handful of action items and paste that picture into the Facebook group. Okay, so super, super easy. And then as my homework is to find my email stats that I referenced earlier. So that is it. I've got time for just a couple of questions, although I also know we're straight up. So for those of you that need to jump with my blessings, it's totally fine. Be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow, the plan was to talk about webinars, social media presences, common weaknesses that I'm seeing in IT companies today. And then Wednesday was going to be taking a look at tactics, what has worked in the past, some other specific options that I want you to start to think through the tactics. So we may switch those. I don't know. I don't really want to pick the tactics without some awareness of the weaknesses, though. So, Bob, you may just have to wait till Wednesday, but just trust me. I got you covered. We are going to get to the tactical part. So, all right. Okay. This is horrible. All right. So lots of email addresses. So that's fine. Tactics, etc. Platform you're using is not a platform. It's the same platforms I was using, but it is. I'll look it up. I will look that up and post that out to the Facebook group as well. Name of the, I'm going to call it an integrator, but that's I think what they probably do is outsource to a lot of different freelancers. And I don't care because it's all done. Thank you, Doug. You're not going to judge me too much about my glasses. I appreciate it. So they essentially, I think they aggregate outsourced people that then go in and do everything you want them to do. So the service, it's consistently quick, but it's not always the best quality. So sometimes I'm going in and giving them two little nitpicky things to fix, and other times it's, oh my word, here's 15 things that need to be adjusted. So um it's not horrible, but for $169 I'll take it, and it brings me scale because again, right now I'm a team of one. So all right, any other questions? I know we're just past the top of the hour. All right, who is going to do their homework? Eric, you want me to hold you accountable? Yes, yes, yeah. All right, so either you didn't have your hand up or you did and it got absorbed into the white, the background. Thank you for letting me throw you under the bus. I appreciate it. Awesome. Cannot wait to see the homework. Can't wait to see the different ideas and action items that you have. If you run into any stumbling blocks or you've got questions, ask them inside of the Facebook group. I'll see you inside of there later on today and tomorrow. And then beyond tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's 2 p.m. every day. Same Zoom link as today. And we will be in good shape. Thank you guys. Take care.